Up next on our 2025 NHL Draft Recap Series, we're looking at the Edmonton Oilers. They drafted 5 times this year, and they took some interesting players, so let's take a look at them. At 83rd overall, they drafted Tommy Lafreniere. Now, Lafreniere is a player who I have seen a few times this year with Kamloops. He had a pretty good start to the season with Nathan Beam on his line a lot of the time from when I saw him. Lafreniere just seems like a really smart, well-positioned player, guy who times things well, not a guy who I think has real NHL upside and wouldn't have been a top 100 guy to me, but he's a guy where when you see him play, you can see a lot of good energy and a lot of good vision and just a lot of things that I think at the very least can make him a good junior player, maybe a solid college player, but from there, it really is a mixed bag for me with Lafreniere as an NHL upside player, but you're betting on the smarts and the overall pace of play that I think Lafreniere flashes and trying to seize that and move forward with it. At 117th, they drafted David Luwendowski, a German playing for the Saskatoon Blades in the WHL. And I've seen Luwendowski quite a few times this year. The Holinka, he was at the World Juniors, and I think he's another well-rounded player. There's not really a whole lot when I watch Luwendowski where I go, this is a gap in his game. He drives the net pretty well. He's got some finishing ability. He's a bit of a good playmaker as well. I thought he really rounded out a solid top end for the German national teams that he played on this year. Similar to Lafreniere, I'm not sure he moves the needle quite enough for me to be an NHL pick, but in terms of well-rounded guys who maybe you could call upon to do a certain role on a team or fill a certain gap that you might have, Luwendowski might have been one of the more intriguing players I didn't have ranked. At 131st, they drafted Asher Barnett. Now, Asher Barnett is a player that I have watched for a while now. He's a guy that really kind of popped a lot of the time early in the year when I watched the NTDP. Barnett is a really intriguing offensive-leaning defenseman, I think. There's some good skill there, agile player, he's got a bit of confidence, and I do feel like there's a potential outcome here. Barnett is one of these players who I think could turn out similarly to a guy like Francesco Del Elche, who I remember watching at this age and thinking, I could see a good college defenseman here, I'm not sure I would draft him. Where I think there's a good sense of offensive tools, a good ability to pick apart defenses and drive play offensively, use his feet and hands in conjunction to make some lanes and open up the ice a little bit for himself, but moving the needle enough to be an NHL level defenseman, I felt like his defensive play was a big hole in his game and just didn't strike me as that offensive style of defenseman that I would bet on to make the NHL, but a good college defenseman I can absolutely see, and from there, time will tell. At 191st, they drafted Daniel Salin, who is a re-entry goaltender out of Finland. The numbers in his game this year were really, really good. He didn't really move me as well when I watched him play. He just felt like a guy who was big, playing in a lower level of play. He's a little bit on the older edge of things, so maybe he comes along a little quicker in Edmonton. And we all know that Edmonton needs a goaltender at the moment. Is Salin a solution? I mean, I don't really think so right now, but Salin is an interesting bet. He brings a lot of nice things to the game, and there's a lot of good numbers that can support drafting him this late. And then at 223rd, they drafted one of the best memes to come out of the 2025 draft in Aiden Park. Aiden Park went to the draft and was not expecting to get drafted and was there to support a friend of his, and he went in a hoodie and a very casual looking outfit. That's awesome. And Aiden Park was a player that I watched a little bit last year. I was not surprised to see him go through the draft. I thought he might get a pick this year, though. He did take a nice big step forward with Green Bay. He's got a good sense of energy in his game. There's a good defensive work rate. He's got a pretty good shot as well. He scored a lot of goals this year, pulling pucks around defensemen. He does extend his possessions a little bit too much for me. I think he's a guy who really loves to hang on to the puck, and I don't think he has the pace or skill or real high-end skating ability to get through problems at the NHL level. But I do think this could be an interesting college pickup, and in 5 or 6 years, maybe Park is a guy who develops into a more NHL-like player. I think he's just a little bit of a ways away in terms of playing that scoring offense role, where I feel like that might be where he's more comfortable, but the motor and the work ethic and the defensive positioning are pretty good with him, so who knows where he goes from here, but I'm just really happy to see a guy like Park get drafted. And with that, the Oilers are going to get a 3B. Now that sounds bad, but I think they just drafted a lot of guys. I'm not totally sure that any of them really look like NHL players right now. They drafted a lot of smart, well-rounded guys who aren't small, and I think the most upside out of all of them might be Asher Barnett, but I still think he's a bit of a ways away. So maybe they get something down their lineup one day, and a guy like Luwendowski, maybe a guy like Lafreniere comes along really well. Aiden Park might have a really good college career. Who knows about the goaltender, Daniel Salin, but overall, just not a whole lot of excitement in their draft class outside of the meme that came from the Aiden Park pick. and maybe a little bit of the best moments of Asher Barnett, but time will tell. I really feel like throughout the entire draft, they drafted a lot of just solid players that might become a thing, but not necessarily guys that really screamed, this is probably going to be a really good pickup for the Oilers. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server, and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet. So check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.